On today's episode, we are looking at the finances of a couple. The girlfriend is 29 and works as a telecommunications consultant. The boyfriend is 31 and works as a plant operator. They have one child. They say they're in so much debt, it's starting to affect their relationship because they're always fighting about money. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Itumeleng. I'm a qualified management accountant. And on this channel, I help ordinary people like you learn how to start saving money, get out of debt, invest, and ultimately build wealth. If that is something you're interested in, please do subscribe and become a part of our growing rich family. Now let us see the finances of our couple. The girlfriend's net income is 20,900 rands and the boyfriend's net income is 21,000 rands. So both of them take home 21,000 rands. In total, their monthly income is 41,900 rands. Again, the power of a two-income household. I like that when the two come together, they really add up to a really nice amount. So 42,000 is what our couple is working with, but they say they are always fighting. Their relationship is in trouble because of all the debt that they are in. So let's look at their savings and investments as well as this debt that is causing a rift between them. Savings and investments 0000. Okay, that is a problem. That can cause trouble in love land because in case of emergencies, I can imagine we'll just be looking at each other wondering where are we going to get money for this, and then we start blaming each other. So that is the case with our couple. Immediately the first fix for them is to get an emergency fund, however small. Any amount that you can have in your emergency fund really helps reduce the stress that you have, because even though you might not be able to cover all the emergencies that could possibly happen to you, you know that some emergencies, a small emergency like we are out of bread, you can cover. Let's see their debt balances. They have a 3-bedroom apartment. The balance on that is 700,000 rands. And then they have a car, 380,000 rands. Not bad. Not a bad house balance. Also not a bad car balance for their income, for their combined income. However, they say they feel like they might need to downgrade their apartment because they feel like it's a bit pricey for them, but we'll see. Now, Mashonisa 1 for the girlfriend, 2,500 rands. Mashonisa 2, 3,000 rands. Mashonisa 3, 3,000 rands. Mashonisa 4, 5,000 rands. Mashonisa 5, 3,000 rands. Mashonisa 6, 2,500 rands. Mashonisa 7, 950 rands. And then Mashonisa for the boyfriend only has one Mashonisa and he owes the Mashonisa 25,000 rands. In total, their debt balance is 1,124,950 rands. Okay. What in the loan shark is this? I said to the girlfriend, how do you know 7 Mashonisas? She said, no, that's how it is. Once you know one Mashonisa, you'll know all of them because they also refer me to other Mashonisas when I have reached my credit limit with one of them. Okay, let's just talk about the Mashonisas for now. Leave the apartment that you feel like you don't afford for now. We'll get to that. Because at this point, I don't think the poor apartment is the problem. Mashonisa 1 until 7. That is where the real issue seems to be. So I asked them to explain to me, what do we do with this Mashonisa money? Why do we owe Mashonisa so much? What are these for? The girlfriend said, for me, I go to Mashonisa when we run out of some stuff in the house, maybe groceries or snacks, and I don't want to bother my boyfriend, so I'll just take care of that using one of the Mashonisas that will give me money. Another thing that is a big contributor to me going to Mashonisas frequently is for our son's school things. The school will keep calling and say, we need more stationery, we need new shoes, we need new gear for sports, they're going on a trip, or there's a function at school, all those things related to the son's school, I take care of. And I don't want to bother my boyfriend, so I just sort them out. Okay? What do you mean you don't want to bother your boyfriend? Is this boyfriend not the father of this child? She said, no, he is. And we've been together 7 years, and we've also been staying together for 5 years. So we are actually a family. We are in a long-term committed relationship. We are as good as married. Okay, the boyfriend also owes Mashonisa 25,000. My good sir, what is the reason you go to Mashonisa? He said, my salary can only be able to cover the house payment as well as the car payment and insurance and rates and taxes. And then after that, I have nothing. I don't have money for petrol. I don't have money for when groceries run out. So that is what I will use the Mashonisa money for. And I feel like I'm valid. I feel like I have a valid reason for me to go to Mashonisa because I really do run out. But the girlfriend, on the other hand, I don't understand. I don't understand why she has to have so many Mashonisas and for things that I actually don't understand. I don't know what she's doing with all this money. And that is when the blame game started. And that is when I started sensing the tension, the conflict that they say they deal with daily in their relationship. Because the girlfriend says she does all these things, takes care of some household things, takes care of all school activities, extras for their son, so that the boyfriend doesn't have to worry about them. But the same boyfriend, because he's not informed, because he doesn't know what is happening, feels like the girlfriend is just taking out Mashonisa's just. And that is where they clash. That is where they have a lot of conflict. And the girlfriend was just crying at this point because she felt really misunderstood and she felt like she's carrying a lot of weight on her own. So I said to the boyfriend, I said, your girlfriend is really bothered by this situation. You know, she is really frustrated with all the debts that she has. And the boyfriend said, yeah, no, just because someone is crying doesn't mean that they are the only one going through the most. I'm also struggling. I'm also frustrated by our debt. So you can't say she's going through the most. Okay, I stand corrected. Both of them are going through the most because, I mean, these are Mashonisas and it's a lot of them. So what is the way forward here? The boyfriend said, you know what? Before we talk about a way forward, let me just let you know that I was not aware that my girlfriend had all these Mashonisas, 7 of them. That is a lot. I only found out a week ago when we were preparing for this consultation. And had I known, I would have paid off the Mashonisas for her because I received some money from work and I went to her and I said, how can we use this money? And she didn't say anything about Mashonisas, so I just left it there and we used the money for groceries and clothes and other things in the house. But if I had known, I would have settled all these debts. Okay, a lot is going on. My good sir, you also have 25,000 that you owe Mashonis. Fine, you are saying you didn't know your girlfriend had all these Mashonisa debts, and if you had known, you would have settled them. What about your 25,000? Did you also not know? Did you not know that you owe Mashonisa 25,000? How come you didn't settle that? I find it a little hard to believe that you were just gonna settle her Mashonisa debts, but not your own. You didn't even try to reduce it with this money from work, but you want to blame her for not telling you that she had Mashonisas because you would have settled them. No, we are fighting about things that don't exist here. Like the blame game, like this thing of it's you. You are the one that got us in debt. You are the one. There's no better person here. All of us are in the wrong. And the way forward now is just to work together on this thing and stop with the blaming game, because that is actually what is holding them back from moving forward. Instead of figuring out how we are going to get out of the 8 Mashonisas, we are saying, I would have settled, or if I had known. No, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have. If you were a settler of Mashonisas, you would have started with your own. But he says he would have. Do you think he would have? Do you think this guy, if he had known that the girlfriend was in Mashonisa debt, he would have left his 25,000 and settled the Mashonisas for the girlfriend? I don't know. I don't buy it. I told him I don't buy it. If any of you believe him, raise your hand in the comments. Now let us look at their monthly expenses. Bond for the 3-bedroom apartment, 10,000 rands. Levies, 2,000 rands. Rates and taxes, 1,400 rands. Car, 6,200 rands. Insurance, 1,500 rands. So those 5 items are what the boyfriend is responsible for. They add up to 21,100 rands, which is his whole salary of 21,000 rands. And then he says, after this, after I pay for the bond, the levies, the rates, and everything, I'm left with nothing, and I don't even have money for petrol. So that is how I end up borrowing from the Mashonisas. And then now the girlfriend is responsible for groceries, 4,000 rands, school fees, 2,380 rands, aftercare, 1,300 rands, med tutor, 420 rands. Okay, the schooling costs are a bit steep for our income, although the school fees, aftercare, as well as the tutor amount to 4,100 rands a month. Can't we downgrade the school because they don't even teach the kids maths well? Why do I have to pay for a tutor when I'm paying so much in school fees? And the aftercare is also a lot. The aftercare is more than half the school fees, so even their aftercare is pricey. She said, no, we cannot downgrade the school because this is actually a public school and there's no cheaper school than this in our area, so the schooling costs will just have to stay. Okay, we'll figure out another way. Oh, there's also child transport for school, 850 rands. So in total, the schooling costs are actually 5,000 rands. What can we say? Education is the key to success, but it's a lot. It's a lot of costs. 5,000 already goes to the child. The girlfriend's transport to work is 1,700 rands. She says she takes the train to work. House helper, 1,400 rands. She says this is the lady that helps her around the house. Every single weekend she'll come, do laundry, do some cleaning, because she says she's just under a lot of stress emotionally, and having someone help her with the household chores really goes a long way, because those are the days where she can just slip in and relax and know that laundry and cleaning is done. I appreciate that. I hear that. But 1.4 could really go a long way in other things. And I understand saying, you know, when someone takes off that load from you, you are able to rest. Where is the boyfriend? You guys can split the chores or rotate weekends or something, because she made it sound like the household chores were just her job and she's like, I need help. And that is also something they need to discuss. How are we going to split the household chores so that one weekend the girlfriend can slip in, the other weekend the boyfriend can also slip in, but we get to a point where we keep our 1,400 rands. I know some of you are going to say, oh, poor helper is going to be fired. I'm sorry for the helper. I hope she finds another gig somewhere, but we need to get our priorities straight and we need to recoup as much as we can, because we owe 8 Mashonisas and that's dangerous. Wi-Fi, 620 rands. DSTV for mom, 758 rands. Which DSTV is this one? The girlfriend said this is DSTV for her mom. She also pays for the decoder, but she'll be done paying for the decoder in about 4 months. And then the monthly payment will just be 500 rands. Ooh, DSTV is becoming a pandemic now. Mothers need to start farming again, because this thing of them and Moja Love is becoming expensive. But okay, at least the decoder business is going to be done, you know, in 4 months. Wi-Fi for mom, 410 rands. Funeral cover, 260 rands. The funeral cover is just for the girlfriend. She also needs to get life cover. The boyfriend's funeral cover and life cover are covered by his employer, so At least that is sorted. In total, their monthly expenses are 35,198 rands. So from their monthly combined income of almost 42,000 rands, they are left with a surplus of 6,700 rands every single month. But we have not forgotten we owe 8 Mashonisas. As you have seen, we have not factored in any Mashonisa payments in their expenses, and that is because they really don't know how to go about it. It's just a lot and it's overwhelming, and they've been missing some payments on some loan sharks, and the interests have just been piling up. So now with the remaining 6,700 rands, we'll need to come up with a repayment plan of the Mashonisas. And we are also going to take our 1,400 rands from the helper. We are going to start helping each other around the house, because as much as I understand the need for a helper, how it really helps take off the load in the house, we cannot afford it. We'll afford it some other time. For now, let's pay the Mashonisas. So we start with the 6,700 rands, take the 700 rands, start an emergency fund, STAT. Immediately we start with an emergency fund, because this thing of not having an emergency fund is what has gotten us to this place. You know, any small thing, this Valentine's Day at school, 150 is needed. We don't even have that. And that is also going to help the girlfriend stop this thing of being John Cena, of if they call at school, you just immediately go to a Mashonisa and you take care of things. No, we are going to have a combined emergency fund of 700 rands monthly. We build from that. When there's anything that comes up from school or anything that we are out of in the house, we talk to each other. If the school calls you for anything, you also call the boyfriend. You say, they are saying they need 300 at school. What are we going to do? That immediately takes off the load from, you know, John Cena, so that both of us can share this load, because a lot of what is frustrating them is everyone is just doing their own thing. Everyone is going to their own Mashonisas, and then they come back to each other and they bite each other's heads off. It's like, oh, what were you doing? Oh no, you say you did this for the house, but I didn't know that. So going forward, if there's a need for a Mashonisa, I hope there isn't. We are going to talk about it. Our finances, our emergency funds are going to be combined from now on, because everyone was just doing their own thing. The boyfriend would pay for his part and then immediately go to Mashonisas. The girlfriend pays for her part and then continues to just go back to Mashonisas as well. So we're not going to do that. 700 rands emergency fund for both of us. And then from the 6,000 rands, the boyfriend says the big thing that he always needs Mashonisas for is petrol. So we are going to give him 2,000 for petrol, should last him the whole month. That leaves us with 4,000. Now we go to our Mashonisas. We have 4,000. We start with Mashonisa 7 for the girlfriend. We owe Mashonisa 7 950 rands. Immediately with the 4,000 rands, we are able to completely close off Mashonisa 7, right? And then we are left with about 3,000 rands. With the 3,000 that's remaining, we are going to split it evenly between Mashonisa 1 and Mashonisa 6. We are going to give each Mashonisa 500 rands. Now, I know that is not enough, you know, for the amount that we owe, but it's just enough to make sure that the Mashonisas don't break their knees, right? And then the 1,400 rands for the helper that we are going to have to temporarily let go. We are going to take the 1,400 rands and start paying the boyfriend's Mashonisa of 25,000 rands. And with this payment plan, every single month we should be able to close off a Mashonisa for the girlfriend and continue to build the emergency fund with the 700 rands, while also being able to pay for the boyfriend's petrol. So that is a solution, and if they stick to it, continue to build an emergency fund, settle a Mashonisa every single month and start attacking the next one and pay the minimum that you can on the rest of the Mashonisas. Before you know it, they'll be out of the Mashonisa debts, especially for the girlfriend's Mashonisas. For the boyfriend, we'll just commit the 1,400 rands for the time being. So it's very doable, and I don't think they are at a place where they should rush into selling the apartment, downgrading the apartment as yet, because they also mentioned that they would have to incur a loss at selling the apartment. I feel like the problem is with the Mashonisas, and once we have the Mashonisas out of the way, then that whole 6,700 rands surplus will be ours. And it's going to take a little bit of time to completely settle the Mashonisas. It's doable, but it's going to take a little bit more time. So I said to them, is there anything you guys can do for extra income to really help fast track the Mashonisas? The boyfriend said, yeah, I usually do forex trading. I'm really good at it, and it has really helped me generate extra income in the past. But currently, because of all the stress we have around our finances, I just don't feel like I'm in the right state of mind to be doing forex trading. So I'm just going to leave that alone for now. We are in a lot of debt here. Huh? It's a lot of debt, and I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm going to leave this one to the professionals. What must to be happen when a situation is like this? What does Psychology 101 say when someone owes Mashonisa all this money and they're in a lot of trouble financially, but they are both going through a lot mentally because of the finances, because of the debt? What must happen? Do these people do what they can to generate extra income so that they can quickly get out of debt, or should they wait it out until they feel mentally ready to step in to the extra income? I know what I think. I know what I think, but I'm not going to go with that today. I want the professionals to educate us, because mental health is very important. But this Mashonisas are a pandemic, and you guys know it's also a safety issue at this point, to just pay them off. But yeah, please let me know your thoughts on our couple in the comments. I think the biggest task for them will be handling their finances together, working together as a team, so that each one of them is always informed, always knows what is happening with the finances, so that they don't continue to fight later on like they've been doing. And also that thing of just carrying the load together, especially for the girlfriend, because she's been feeling like she needs to take on a lot more in secret, but it has caused a lot of conflict. And now she feels like instead of the boyfriend being grateful to her for coming to his rescue, now he doesn't feel like she's doing anything worthwhile with the money. So working together going forward is going to be very imperative for our lovely couple here. Please like this video if you found value in it, share it with a friend, subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, I hope you have a rich day.